Sons and Daughters of the United States Middle Passage, or SDUSMP for short, is a hereditary society organization or lineage society for men and women who are descendants of individuals who were formerly enslaved in the United States of America. And that time period where you might find an ancestor who was formerly enslaved is between, for this organization, is between 1619 and 1865. The reason for the organization is to preserve the memory of those individuals who were freed and enslaved ancestors. Yeah, this is a fairly new organization. Actually, it began in 2011, and it's a nonprofit like most lineage organizations. But yeah, like they consider the individuals who were enslaved in the United States like a forced patriot. So you don't have to have an ancestor who was in any kind of military conflict to be in this organization. All you have to do is prove that they were enslaved. And then they may have been freed afterwards or whatnot. But if they were enslaved at any point in time during that 1619 to 1865 time period. Some of the challenges people might face with applying for membership in the organization, even though you can, even the time frame, the earliest time frame where you could possibly have encountered someone who was formerly enslaved is in the mid 1800s. A lot of the individuals who apply for membership in this organization are likely to be African American, but maybe white or whatnot. But usually from an African American or Black American point of view, some of the challenges may occur earlier on in the genealogy and looking for records well before you even get to your enslaved ancestors. So you may have identified an enslaved individual. You may have family tradition or oral history that gets you back to that person. And you may have some record evidence, but usually because of some of the name changes that happened post slavery and enslavement, and just kind of broken homes in the African American, Black American community, you might have trouble finding your grandparents. Birth record or death record or marriage records across the United States South or the Upper South in places like Virginia. Um, but you might have trouble finding records for your parents, grandparents, or great grandparents, depending on your age and how far back you need to go. And that is the challenge with working with African American or Black American research in general. The documents you might need to prove the lineage, they're going to be the common ones: the vital records, the birth, marriage, death records, starting with yourself if you're married. Obviously, you're not deceased. Your parents, if they were married and or deceased, you'd want their marriage records and death records. So those are the easiest records, the vital records, to usually locate because they're held in repositories and archives like public health departments and such, state by state. They can be pretty easy to obtain if they're not already in a collection of records within your family. But when we get to proving the enslaved ancestors, we may rely on Freedmen's Bureau record collections, probate records. We're looking at really advanced record sets, usually if it's not listed on a census record per se. I have seen a census record from 1870, where it indicated that she was born on a ship in the ocean. And that is the proof that one member has used to determine her ancestor was from Africa. And she was, formerly, in the absence of her not being on records prior to 1870, also added to the evidence. So sometimes you're going to have to build a body of evidence, again, that's not very straightforward, circumstantial, and it just really begins to tell the narrative. The presence or the lack of presence in records where a freed person should be an individual might be in the 1860, 1850 records. If your ancestor's not listed there, they may have been an enslaved person. And then that's where you'll go to those Freedmen Bureau records. Also, military pensions from the Civil War, if you know that your ancestor fought there. Those records can also tell a great deal about if they were enslaved or not, who their enslaver was, and help you continue to, that alone would be proof, but those are the kinds of records you would want to look for. But those records usually open up the possibility to find additional records. So some words of encouragement or advice I would give for anybody who's looking to join the Sons and Daughters of the United States Middle Passage is just start with what you have. Collect those records, beginning with yourself and your parents, and collect whatever documentary evidence you already have. And when you get stuck with the application, which you should be able to find on the website there, if you get stuck, there is someone to help. They have registrars that will help you with trying to find some of the harder records and documents that might prove that your ancestor was enslaved. But keep in mind that they are volunteers, and the more you can do to help them help you will be like really monumental towards your success in joining the organization.